It started with a stranger who stayed too long. Daniel Ashworth noticed him at 9 over, not because the man was doing anything obviously wrong, but because Daniel noticed things, which was either his best quality or his most inconvenient one depending on who you asked. Rosa, who had employed him for 14 months and had opinions about everything, said it was both. The man had come in at 8:50, ordered an Americano, and chosen the table directly adjacent to table 4. Table 4 was the corner table. 2 walls, clear view of the door, the best light in the morning, and enough distance from the counter that conversations stayed private. It was, in Daniel's observation, the table chosen by people who'd needed to feel safe, and in 14 months he had learned to pay attention to who sat there and who sat near them. The woman at table 4 had been coming in every weekday for 6 weeks. She always arrived at 8:43, always ordered a flat white, and whatever Rosa was making that morning, always sat with her back to the wall, always ate without looking at her phone, without reading, without the performance of busyness that most people use to justify sitting alone in public. She simply sat, drank her coffee, ate her food, existed for exactly 1 hour, as if the rest of the world had agreed to wait. Her name was Nora. He knew that because she had told him 6 weeks ago, after he mentioned that Rosa put cardamom in everything and believed it was a universal solution. "She's not wrong," she had said. And then, "I'm Nora." And then, Daniel. And the hour had become, in increments too small to name, the best part of his day. The man at the adjacent table had not touched his Americano. He was looking at his phone, or appearing to look at his phone. The angle was wrong. The screen was dark. Daniel refilled the water jug, moved to table 4. "The man to your left," he said, setting down a glass Nora hadn't asked for, leaning close enough that only she could hear. He came in looking for a seat. Walked past 4 empty tables to sit next to you. His coffee is untouched, and his phone screen hasn't lit up once in 10 minutes. Nora's expression didn't change. Not by a fraction. But her right hand, which had been resting on the table, moved to her lap. "How long has he been there?" she said, to her coffee cup. 14 minutes. As he looked at me directly. Twice. Quickly. The way people look when they're trying not to be seen looking. She was quiet for a moment. "Don't ask him to leave yet. All right, stay close. I'm not going anywhere," he said. He moved back to the counter. Watched. The man picked up his phone. Really this time, the screen illuminating, and typed something. Sent it. Put the phone face down. And then he stood up. He didn't go to the counter. He didn't go to the door. He turned and took 2 steps directly toward table 4 with the particular deliberateness of someone who had decided, and had been working up to deciding, and had finally arrived. Daniel was between them before the man completed the 3rd step, not running, not loudly. Simply there, in the narrow space between the tables, with the complete physical certainty of a man who had chosen his position and was not going to be moved from it. He was not large. He did not raise his voice. He did not touch anyone. He simply stood. "Can I help you?" he said. The man looked at him. The calculation was visible, the assessment, the decision about whether this was worth it. "I just wanted to speak to. The cafe closes in 40 minutes, Daniel said. "If you'd like to settle your bill, I'm happy to help you with that." The man's jaw tightened. "Otherwise," Daniel said, with the same tone, the same calm, "I'd ask you to return to your table." A long moment. The man went back to his table. He left, 7 minutes later, without finishing his coffee and without looking at Nora again. Daniel cleared the cup, came back to table 4, sat down. Nora looked at him. "You didn't ask me any questions," she said. "Didn't need to," he said. "You said you didn't know him. That was enough." She held his gaze across the table, the full, unmanaged look of a woman recalibrating something she had thought she understood. "How did you learn to do that?" she said. "Stand like that." "Army," he said. "For years. Before the literature degree and the coffee. In that order. Army first," he said. "Then I needed something quieter." She looked at him for a long moment. "That man," she said carefully, "is not the first one." "I know," he said. "I've seen 2 others in the last 3 weeks. Different faces, same behavior." She went very still. "You didn't say anything," she said. "You didn't ask," he said. "And I didn't want to take the hour from you." The cafe moved around them, Rosa in the kitchen, the espresso machine doing its loud Italian work, Mercer Street outside going about its morning. "Nora," he said. "Yes, whatever this is," he said, "it's getting closer." She looked at her coffee. "I know," she said. And the way she said it, quiet, certain, carrying something heavy, told him she had known for longer than today. She had found the cafe by accident. That part was true. The construction on her usual route, the detour down Mercer Street, the smell of good coffee through an open door at 8:41 on a Tuesday morning when she had 17 minutes before her first call and hadn't eaten since the previous afternoon. She had sat at table 4 because it was the corner table with the wall on 2 sides and the clear view of the door. And Eleanor Voss, which was her name, her real name, the one on the tower, 3 blocks north, and on the development plans and in the financial press, had sat with her back to walls in public spaces since she was 23 and had learned, in the particular way that people in her position learn things, that visibility was not always an asset. She had ordered a flat white and the rice pudding and had eaten in silence and had noticed, for the first time in longer than she could remember, that nobody in the room was looking at her. Not because she was unrecognizable, she was, she knew, recognizable to the right people in the right contexts, but this was not the right context. This was a small cafe on a side street with 11 tables and a chalkboard menu, and a barista who had brought her food and said the cardamom is Rosa's addition. She believes it's a universal solution, and had moved away without waiting for a response, without performing, without calculating anything. She'd come back the next day, and the day after. 6 weeks later, the hour between 8:43 and 9:43 was the only hour in her day that belonged entirely to her. Not to the company, not to the board, not to the development on the north end of Mercer Street that was either visionary or destructive depending on who was writing about it, not to the situations that had begun 6 weeks ago and was becoming, steadily, something she could not continue to manage alone. The situation was this: someone knew who she was. Someone had been in the cafe on the 3rd week and had photographed her. She hadn't seen it happen, but she had seen the evidence afterward, in the form of a message sent to a private email address that very few people had, with a photograph attached and 3 sentences beneath it that she had read once and not read again, because once was sufficient to understand what was being asked. $2 million, wired within 30 days. Or the photograph and the information attached to it. The information about where Lena Voss went every morning and why, would go to the press. She had not told her security team. She had not told her lawyers. She had not told anyone, because telling anyone meant the hour ended, meant that Table 4 became a location, that Daniel became a witness, that Mercer Street became a security perimeter, rather than a street she had walked down by accident and found something real. She knew, being irrational. She was also, she had discovered, over 6 weeks, capable of irrational things, when the thing at stake was the only uncomplicated part of her life. He found it on a Wednesday evening, 3 days after the man in the cafe. He had not been looking. That was the thing he came back to afterward. He had not gone looking, had not searched her name or tried to find the thing she was keeping. He had been reading an article about the Mercer Street development, the planning news he followed because he cared about the street he worked on, and the article had referenced the developer, Eleanor Vorse, CEO of the Vorse Group, whose portfolio includes the Mercer Street corridor, and there had been a photograph. He had looked at the photograph for a long time. She was in a different context, a press event, formal clothes, the full architecture of Eleanor Vorse rather than Nora from Table 4. But the gold earrings were the same. The way she held herself was the same. The eyes, which were looking at the camera with the particular directness he had come to know over 6 weeks of morning conversations, were exactly the same. He set his phone down. He picked it up again and read the article fully. The Voss Group, 14 years. Commercial real estate. The Mercer Street corridor, this building, he thought, the 4 buildings adjacent, the development on the north end. A profile from 2 years ago that described her as relentless, visionary, and almost pathologically private. Pathologically private. He thought about the corner table, the wall on 2 sides, the hour that she guarded with the precision of someone who understood exactly what it was worth. He thought about the men who had been watching her. He put his phone down and did not sleep well, and arrived at the cafe at 7:15 the next morning, an hour and a half before she would come in, and made himself a coffee and stood at the counter and thought about what he was going to do with what he knew. He arrived at the answer before the coffee was finished, the same thing he had always done. Be there, pay attention, not make it something it didn't need to be made into. But this time, tell her he knew. She came in at 8:43. He had the flat white ready, the temperature she liked, the detail he had learned without deciding to, and he brought it to Table 4 before she had finished sitting down, and then, instead of moving away, he sat down across from her. She looked at him. "I need to tell you something," he said. Her expression didn't change, but her hands, which had been reaching for the cup, stopped. "I was reading about the Mercer Street development last night," he said. There was a photograph. The silence that followed was very still. "The gold earrings," he said. "You wear them every day." She looked at the table, then at the window, then back at him. The full look, nothing between them. "How long have you known?" he said. "That you'd find out?" she said. "I always knew. I just stopped. I didn't know when. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because then, I'm not Nora," she said. "I'm Eleanor Vorse, and you're a person who works in a building I own and everything." She stopped again. "Everything changes, has it?" he said. "Changed." She looked at him carefully. "You're sitting at my table," she said. "Same as yesterday." "Same as yesterday," he confirmed. "You don't seem surprised," he said. "I'm not entirely. I knew there was something. I didn't know what." He turned its cup. "The men who've been watching you, they are connected to this." It wasn't a question. She was quiet for a moment. And then, in the way she did things when she had decided, which was completely without performance. She told him. All of it. The photograph. The message. The $2 million. The 30 days that had started 6 weeks ago, and had 17 days left. He listened the way he listened to everything, completely, without interrupting, without the performance of listening that most people substituted for the thing itself. When she finished, the cafe was very quiet. "You haven't told anyone," he said. "No, for 6 weeks. Yes, because of the hour," he said. She held his gaze. Yes. He was quiet for a moment. Not with shock, with the particular stillness of a person reorganizing information into its correct shape. "Eleanor," he said. "Nora," she said immediately. "Please, Nora." He leaned forward slightly. "You have to tell your security team today." "I know. Today," he said again. "Not tomorrow." "I know, Daniel. The hour," he said, "is not worth $2 million, and it is not worth whatever happens if you don't pay and they decide to escalate." "I know," she said, for the 3rd time. And the repetition of it, the quiet, certain acknowledgement, told him she had known all of this and had been choosing the hour anyway, and that the choosing had been, in its way, entirely rational. Because the hour had been the thing that kept everything else manageable, and she had understood that even if she hadn't been able to say it. "Call them now," he said. "From here." "I'll stay." She looked at him. "You'll stay," she said. "I'll get you another coffee," he said. "And I'll stay." She picked up her phone. She made the call. And he went to the counter and made the coffee and came back and sat at table 4, while Eleanor Vorse, $12 billion, her name on a tower, the developer of the street he worked on, told her security team, in a voice that was completely steady, what had been happening for 6 weeks. The security team arrived in 11 minutes. 2 of them, a woman named Clark, who moved with the quiet efficiency of someone who had handled worse, and a man named Peterson, who took notes without reacting to anything. They sat at the adjacent tables and spoke to Nora in low voices, and Daniel moved to the counter and served. The 2 other customers who had come in and pretended not to notice that something significant was happening in the corner. Rosa appeared from the kitchen at 9:30, read the room with the 22 years of experience she brought to everything, looked at Daniel, and said nothing. She made herself a coffee and went back to the kitchen. The security team left at 9:50. Nora sat at table 4 alone for a moment. Then Daniel came over and sat down. "Well," he said. "They have a lead," she said. "They think they know who it is. Someone who was contracted to photograph me for a competitor went freelance with the information." She looked at the window. "Clark says it will be resolved within a week, and the cafe. They want to run a security assessment," she said. "Check the sight lines, the entry points." A pause. "I told them to be discreet. Rosa will notice anyway," he said. "I know," she said. "I'll talk to Rosa. There's something you should know about Rosa," he said. She looked at him. "She's known who you are since week 3, he said. "The gold earrings. A press photograph from an awards dinner." Nora stared at him. "Rosa knows. Rosa has known for 9 weeks, he said. "She hasn't said anything because, in her words, she's not in the business of taking things from people that they've worked hard to find." The silence stretched. "She protected my lease," Nora said, quietly, and then stopped, as if she had said something she hadn't meant to. "What?" Daniel said. She looked at the table. "When I bought this building 4 years ago, This was the first building I bought on Mercer Street. Rosa's lease was the first thing I looked at. She'd been here 22 years, on terms that weren't right. I restructured it before I did anything else. A pause. She doesn't know it was me. She thinks she renegotiated well. Daniel was very still. Why? He said. Because this cafe is the street, she said. You can build the right buildings with the right proportions and the right materials, and if the street doesn't have a place like this, a place that's been here 22 years, it smells like cardamom and has a chalkboard menu and an espresso machine that's too loud, then you've built the wrong thing. He looked at her for a long time. Nora, he said. Yes, you should tell her, he said. Rosa, you should tell her yourself. I know, she said. Today, he said. She almost smiled. You say that a lot. It keeps being the right answer, he said. Rosé listened without interrupting. She stood in the kitchen doorway, with her arms crossed and her coffee in her hand, and she listened to Eleanor Voss, who had been Nora at table 4 for 6 weeks, and was now both, somehow, in the same person, tell him the truth about the building and the lease and the 4 years of owning the street while drinking coffee in it anonymously. When Nora finished, Rosa was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The cardamom, what?" Nora said. The first morning, Rosa said, "You noticed the cardamom, not the coffee, the cardamom." She uncrossed her arms. "I knew then that you were someone who paid attention to the right things. Rosa, you protected 22 years of work," Rosa said, "before you protected anything else. Before you protected your investment, before you did anything for yourself." She picked up her coffee. "I'm not angry. I'm telling you, I already knew you were good. The rest is just detail." Nora looked at her. "Although," Rosa added, moving back toward the stove, "you could have just told me. I'm not fragile." "I know," Nora said. "I was protecting something." "The hour," Rosa said, without turning around. "The hour," Nora confirmed. Rosa stirred whatever was on the stove. "It's still your hour," she said. "Table 4 is still your table. Nothing changes." A pause. "Except now, you don't have to pretend you've never seen a development plan." Nora looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at his coffee. "She knows about the plans too," he said. "Of course I know about the plans," Rosa said. "I read the planning news. I have opinions. Everyone has opinions about the plans," Nora said. "Mine are correct," Rosa said. "The entrance is wrong." "Daniel told you that already." Nora stared at the back of Rosa's head. "Daniel told you, he told me." "Daniel tells me most things," Rosa said eventually. "I tell her nothing," Daniel said. "She infers." "Same result," Rosa said. "Now, someone should make fresh coffee. We have customers." The security team resolved it in 6 days. Clark called on a Thursday morning. Nora took the call at table 4, which Daniel thought said something about how things had shifted, and reported that the photographer had been identified, the evidence recovered, the situation contained. No payment had been made. No information had been released. The 30 days were over. "Done," Nora said, setting her phone on the table. "Done," Daniel confirmed. "Clark wants to keep a presence on the street for another 2 weeks," she said. "Routine monitoring. Tell her the woman at the counter notices everything," he said. "Rosa is better surveillance than most professionals." "I'll tell her that," Nora said. "Clark will love it." The morning moved around them. Daniel refilled her water, brought a second coffee without being asked, sat back down, which had become, over the course of the week, the natural thing, the thing that required no explanation. I want to show you something, Nora said. She reached into her bag and produced a set of plans, development plans. Revised, the markings of several different hands on them. She spread them on the table. He looked. The entrance was flush with the building line. The ground floor units repositioned. The corner detail, the one he had sketched in pencil 3 weeks ago on the back of a receipt, without thinking while they were talking about the street, was there, rendered properly in the hands of someone who knew how to draw what he had only gestured at. He looked at the corner detail for a long time. The architect took some convincing, she said. I imagine. I showed him the sketch, she said. He said it was rough. It was very rough, Daniel said. He said it was also correct, she said, which annoyed him considerably. She paused. Your name is in the acknowledgements, community consultation. He looked at her. You noticed the street for 14 months, she said. That's not nothing. It's a pencil sketch on a receipt, he said. It's the thing that fixed a problem 3 professionals hadn't solved in 8 months, she said. Don't diminish it. He looked at the plans. At the entrance flush with the street. At the corner, that would work the way corners on this street were supposed to work, opening onto the pavement, inviting rather than closing. Nora, he said. Yes, have dinner with me. She looked at him across the plans, across the table, and $12 billion, and the tower with her name on it, and the building they were both sitting in. You work in a building I own, she said. I know, he said. That's complicated. Most things worth having are, he said. You told me that. More or less. I didn't say it exactly like that. You implied it, he said, repeatedly. The smile arrived. The real one, escaped, unmanaged, the one that got out before she could decide whether to let it. Yes, she said. Dinner. She told him over dinner, a quiet place, a table in the corner, her back to the wall out of habit, his back to the room out of something he didn't examine too closely. She had grown up 6 blocks from Mercer Street. Building? He said. 3 streets over, she said. A smaller building. My mother cleaned offices. My father drove delivery trucks. She turned her glass. We were the kind of people the city was designed for, in theory, and priced away from, in practice. I understood that at 18. I decided to do something about it in the only language available. Money, he said. And what you build with it, she said, which is different. How? Money is just a tool, she said. What you build with it is the intention. My father's building, the one we lived in, was badly designed. Wrong proportions, no light. The developer had maximized the units and minimized everything else. The people inside it were an afterthought. She looked at the table. I decided the people would never be an afterthought in anything I built. Rosa's lease, he said. Rosa's lease, she confirmed. 22 years of the right thing being done in the right building. You protect that first. Everything else is secondary. He looked at her. You've been carrying this alone for a long time. I'm used to alone, she said. I know, he said. I've watched you be alone at table for 4-6 weeks. You're very good at it. He paused. You don't have to keep being good at it. She held his gaze across the table. That's a significant thing to say, she said. I know, he said. You've known me for 6 weeks, she said. 8 weeks. Technically, I've watched you every morning for 8 weeks, he said. I've talked to you for 6. I know how you take your coffee and which way you turn when you're thinking about something difficult, and that you always read the menu, even when you've already decided, and that you protected a 22-year lease before you protected your own investment. He paused. That's not nothing. She was quiet. Eleanor, he said. Nora, she said automatically, and then slower. Both. I think I'm both. Nora, he said. Both. She looked at him across the restaurant, the man who had stood between her and a stranger without asking questions, who had noticed the men watching her before she told him, who had read her street better than her architect and had done it without trying, who had said, I'll stay, and had meant it without condition. I don't know how to do this, she said. The uncomplicated hour. I know how to do that. This is different. It's the same, he said, just longer. She almost laughed. That's a very simple way to put it. I'm a simple person, he said. You are absolutely not, she said. No, he agreed, but I'm honest. Which is the more useful quality? She looked at him for a long time. Yes, she said, it is. 3 months later, on a Tuesday morning, the planning approval came through. Nora was at table 4 when she got the notification. She read it once, set her phone down, and looked at Daniel, who was at the counter. He read her face. He'd become very good at reading her face, and came over. She turned the phone to show him. Mercer Street North Development, planning approved. He read it, set the phone down, looked at the window, at Mercer Street outside, doing its ordinary beautiful thing in the morning light. The entrance, he said. Flush with the building line, she said. Exactly as it should be, the corner detail. In the final build, she said. The architect came round, eventually. He's talented, Daniel said. He just needed someone to look at the street. He needed someone who had been looking at the street for 14 months, she said. Which is a different thing. He sat down. Rosa is going to want to celebrate, he said. She has opinions about how the North End should develop. She's been waiting for someone to implement them. I've been talking to Rosa, Nora said, every Thursday. She has excellent opinions. Of course she does, he said. She has excellent opinions about everything. She told me, Nora said, that you've been here longer than any other member of staff she's had. And that you stayed because of the street. I stayed because of the coffee, he said. Daniel, and the street, he said, and then other things. Other things, she said. Other things, he confirmed. She looked at him across the table, across table 4, the corner table. 2 walls and a clear view of the door, and 8 weeks of mornings that had become 3 months of evenings, and weekends, and a Thursday conversation with Rosa, and a pencil sketch on a receipt that had become a building, that would open onto the street the way buildings on this street were supposed to. I want to show you the building, she said, when it's finished. Walk you through it. I'd like that, he said. I want your opinion on everything, she said, every detail. You're going to tell me what's wrong and what's right, and I'm going to listen, and the architect is going to be annoyed, and I don't care. The architect will survive, he said. He will, she said. He's talented. He is, Daniel said. He just needed someone who looked at the street, they said, together. Rosa appeared in the kitchen doorway with the expression of a woman who had been listening and had no intention of pretending otherwise. Coffee, she said, both of you. On the house. We're celebrating. You can hear everything from that kitchen, Daniel said. I can hear everything from this kitchen, Rosa confirmed. I always could. I just have better material now. She disappeared back into the kitchen. Nora looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at Nora. Outside, Mercer Street went about its morning. The scale right, the proportions correct, the buildings opening onto the pavement the way they were meant to. The whole thing built with the intention of someone who had understood, a long time ago, that the city was for the people in it. And in the corner table of a cafe on that street, with the wall on two sides and the clear view of the door, and the espresso machine doing its loud Italian work, and Rosa making coffee on the house. Two people who had found each other in the most ordinary and unlikely way. A flat white and a cardamom rice pudding, and a stranger who stayed too long, sat in the particular warmth of something that had been, from the very first morning, exactly right.